What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Out of the Gate here on another Monday. It's Cool Shirt Monday, and the boss gave me a nickname. This is not the worst nickname in the world. Captain Happy is not the worst nickname that is out there. I think that's a good thing, actually, as we get set for another week of live racing here at Parx. We saw some great racing last week. We had a Saturday afternoon of racing as well. Right back here in Bensalem, Pennsylvania, we got a stakes race, a couple stakes races tomorrow, $100,000 stakes races. So let's get right into everything we got going on here on this Monday. But before we do that, as always, we got to take a look at some of last week's winners. Here is the Parx Playback.
Parx Playback time, here we go. It was a sweet victory for K19 Sylvester G. Aboard for Roger B. for the win. Passage of Lines was in the passing zone to the inside. Big move to the rail under apprentice Jose Gomez for Butch Reed. Yee was all about getting on the green. 8-1 winner gets the green for Carl C. Jones. Never in doubt under Sylvester Gonzalez. Huge long shot. Tazuea was 20-1. Andrew Wolfson, the Wolfman, with a perfectly timed ride for trainer Michael Pino. 2-2, taking a ride on my train. Jeremy Wheatley Lafrida and Guadalupe Guerrero, they got to the front, and it was over. They were long gone. Big run. Right this way for VIP code leading rider Ruben Silvera for leading trainer Jamie Ness. Off the layoff and crushed. And the shippers dominated. Straight Shot, who has been on a roll for trainer George Delgado, and Chantel Sutherland aboard for the game victory. Have a great week. You saw the Parx Playback there, the weekly wrap-up as always, brought to you by our Instagram. Make sure you head on over there to Instagram, check it out, Parx_Racing, at the weekly wrap-up with all the winners, the jockeys, the trainers, and the horses. Also their post positions that were winners as well. That's an important note to keep an eye on there, is what post positions were seemingly doing quite well. We've had a very fast main track, and we're back on the fast main track this afternoon. Actually a good main track this afternoon as we get set to start the day, but no turf racing on this Monday. We'll see what happens here the rest of the week. Caught some weather over the weekend. What else did we have over the weekend? Not only thoroughbreds, horse racing, but Basset Hounds. We had Basset Hound racing over the weekend, and how cute was this? Look at them go. There's a left turn, a right turn, some of them running straight. This was a lot of fun. A lot of great fun for the family there on Saturday. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it. Raised some money for the Tri-State Basset Hound Rescue as well. So doing it for a great cause, and a huge turnout. Really welcomed a lot of folks here to the Bensalem area as you see them really just kind of getting down the racetrack. But I mean, come on, how cute is that there? The Basset Hounds standing on the podium. It was a wonderful afternoon, and hopefully you enjoyed all of that and joined us as we see the Basset Hound racing here at Parx. That was a lot of fun. Let's take a look at today's card here on a Monday. Race number 1, 6 furlongs is the distance. I'm going to go 3, 5, 7 in here. This is before scratches and changes. Obviously, we're off the turf, so we'll have some changes a little bit later on. Last investment, 4-year-old gelding, trained by Mario Dominguez. When you see that early speed in here, first off the claim, this barn does very well with these types. When you take a look at them first off the claim, with that speed coming from Tampa, this horse should be pretty well spotted for a victory. I think 4-1 would be a gift of a price there in the opener at this 7,500 non-3 level. The 3, top choice for me in race number 1. Race number 2, we're going to take a look at the 1 Anzio Beach. This is the horse that I felt like was, at the 7 furlong distance in here. The 5-year-old gelding, 1 for 2 at the distance. Adam Bowman will be aboard. I think the rail draw is going to be important. We'll see how the rail Anzio Beach is going to negotiate the trip. It has been a little bit closer to the pace in the past, but the drop back down to the $5,000 level, I think that's kind of what tells me that this horse is going to be primed for a better effort this afternoon. Was a step slow into stride last time out, so we'll see how Anzio Beach does perform in race number 2. Make sure you guys check out all of our great content. We got more great content coming up. You got to hit that subscribe on YouTube. Taking a look at race number 3 on the card, and you take a look at this 6 furlong race in here at the open $25,000 claiming level. The number 6 Paper Mansion, 3-year-old filly by 2 Brutus. This is a big claim. You see that Jamie Ness drops in with that $25,000 tag. They claim this runner.
And now first off the claim at the 31st for the barn, that's just really got things rolling here. 47-3 work, that was on April 16th. That was going into that May effort. 6 o'clock Sarah is actually from the Jamie Ness barn, and she was a big winner that afternoon. Now you see the 3-year-old Paper Mansion with Barbosa aboard. I think this horse has got a big shot in here. If we get anything, any type of price like that, I think that that's really a good spot here for the 6. So the 6 is the top choice. She's a one-time winner, 3/3, so we'll see how she performs in that 3rd race. Race number 4 is going to be taken off the turf, moved to the main track, so we'll see what happens with the field. But the number 6 in here, when you take a look at this runner, and the name is escaping me as I'm trying to just get my Diane's Comet is the horse's name. But when you take a look at this 3-year-old filly with that early speed, Paco Lopez named to ride. Michael Pino, second time out, hits at about 17%. Let's take a look at her start from that debut effort at the maiden $25,000 level. Takes a slight drop in class down to the maiden 16. Watch the cruising speed though. The 4 in between horses. This horse has got some of that just early speed that you like to see when stretching out to the 2 turns. Gives up the lead, lets up some of these runners towards the inside, get in front of her. She was favored on this debut. She's a 3-year-old filly by Central Banker. I guess you kind of take a look at the drop in class. You know, what did they show in that maiden 25 effort that they're willing to go down to the maiden 16? But trainer Michael Pino, he's had quite a few winners here recently, especially Paco Lopez being named to ride. We'll see if she does stay in the body of the field here with the move to the main track. But I think on the stretch out here, second time out, she's got a big shot. So we'll go with Diane's Comet there in race number 4. Race number 5 is at 1 1/16. You can go a lot of different directions in this race. These are horses we're very familiar with here at the level. At this $7,500 level, though, I look at the number 2, Towson. Towson just seems to always kind of run her race. She's been very consistent in the last 3 starts, seconds, thirds, and seconds. She's got Subsidiary in here. Subsidiary's got a far outside draw. Maybe Towson can show a little bit more early speed and be in front of her at the top of the stretch. Towson sometimes not the easiest horse to handle at the starting gate, so we'll see how she does break out of the gate. But the 2 is the top choice. Rangel gets the ride back here for trainer Halim Lee. Race number 6 at 6 furlongs before we get into that Philly Big 5 sequence, which we'll talk about a little bit later. 6 furlongs, maiden 16 level. I'll go with the 8 towards the outside and Snappy Ride. Strictly on a class drop. When you take a look at this horse in here, a 3-year-old filly by Uptown Charlie Brown, the Pennsylvania bred, Angel Castillo being aboard at 6-1. I like that. I mean, you give me some value on a horse that's going to drop in class, hasn't been showing a ton of speed, but this is the equalizer. Bring this horse down to the maiden 16 level. Moon Boots was a really nice debut winner that afternoon. Came back and ran okay here last week. Snappy Ride, though, I think offers you some value in this spot. I mean, you take a look at this effort against this field. Some question marks to the inside for me. This horse has run good enough numbers to run with these types. And at 6-1, you get some value as well. So Snappy Ride, the 8, top choice in race number 6. Hey, we got a chance to catch up with the trainer on the backside here. This is a great interview. I think you could sit there and listen to him talk all day. But here's our interview when we got a chance to catch up with trainer Tim Shaw.
Well, I was born in New York, moved to Ireland at a fairly young age. My parents moved back to Ireland and was involved with a lot of farm type stuff when I was a kid and always kind of kept it with me. But we moved back here, probably 6th grade, 7th grade.
Trainer Tim Shaw has been well-traveled in his life and training career. He's also a big New York fan. But which team?
I'm a Yankee fan. Grew up a Met fan. Went to Yankee Stadium a lot of games as a Met fan, and I have no problem with the Mets. But I went to Yankee Stadium for my first game, and I just walked in there and I said, wow. It was kind of haunted. And I said, I think I like this. So we kind of jumped ship a long time ago to a Yankee fan, but don't dislike the Mets. I root for the Mets.
How did his training career begin in the United States?
I worked in healthcare for quite a while. It was one of those situations where, someone always says, don't hesitate to do what you really want to do. And just kind of stumbled back into animals and horses.
Does trainer Tim Shaw remember his first winner?
Claimed my own horse. I had $7,600 in the bank and I claimed him for $7,500. His name was Night Reader and he won here. My first race was right here with Nick Santagata. And then a good friend of mine, Mike Inferna, approached me one day, said, you want to train this horse and this horse? And I was still kind of doing double duty with healthcare and the horses, and it got to be too much. And I said to myself, you always regret if you don't try it.
What was life like growing up in Ireland.
I used to run bets to the betting shops for my aunt. She was a big horse racing fan, and in Ireland you have little shops, little storefront shops that are betting shops. And she used to send me with her tiny little bets written on scrap paper. She used to give me her little coins, and I'd run down to the betting shop and bet.
Trainer Tim Shaw told us about the town he lived in Ireland.
In Southwest Ireland, it's a little town called Listowel, and they have a fairly big racing festival every September, a whole week. So if you could picture a sleepy little Irish village that swells, it explodes to Saratoga proportions. It is. I've taken roommates from college and said, come on, you got to go see this party. They said, oh, we've been in New Orleans, we've been here, you can't show us a party. And I said, come with me. Spending time there and, going back every summer, basically. Horse racing in Ireland and Europe, it's ingrained. It's almost a tangible thing. You can't help but be drawn in by it because of the sport of it, and everyone, especially in the area where I, lived. And you go into the pubs and there's music, everyone's talking horses. The racetrack is right there in the middle of the village. It's wonderful. So I think that stayed with me in part, and that led me to where I am.
Now stabled here at Parx, Trainer Tim Shaw has learned various methods on communicating with horses.
I wound up here at Parx after a few years. I was at Monmouth Park for a long time, and I got off the track and started training at like a farm, a training center, where we could go out in the woods and we go up the hills and we could turn the horses out. And that's what I really enjoyed, like taking a racehorse and turning it out for a couple of hours after training. And then you have some of the more nervous ones where they're a little hyper, they're a little strong, and you have to learn that, you have to recognize that maybe training this one hard is actually not a benefit. You're actually kind of, going uphill against this one. You have to back off. And I think that you just have to see what each horse responds to. Some take training, some thrive on training, and some, you really just have to train with a light hand.
Does Trainer Tim Shaw prefer dirt or turf?
I like turf racing. That's always been my preference. I just like it. Fairly frustrating in terms of weather, not races coming off the turf. It's a frustrating thing at times. A friend of mine, Chuck Spina, told me years ago that a turf horse is a rich man's horse, son, because you don't get to run that often, and when you do, you need to make it count.
Is there a race Trainer Tim Shaw would love to win?
The Irish Derby would be some party. I would just love to win that. I really would. Or the Breeders' Cup Turf Mile. I really would. But to take a horse to Ireland and spend some time there and train him up to that race with that pageantry and that amount of spirit and fun, and put the horse on a van and walk him through the town where I grew up and have everyone cheering, how great would that be? And that's what they do. They walk them right through the town to come back and have a little parade. So I think that would be fun.
Philly Big 5 carryover jackpot. It's a jackpot bet, $34,227.30. It's always the last 5 races of the day. 15% takeout. Get involved in that. Philly Big 5 is now over $34,000 going into this week of live racing. It kicks off here in race number 7 on this Monday, and let's take a look at that top selection here in race number 7 when you take a look at this sequence. And the number 6 at here, Fearless Fly, has run races close enough to where this horse can be in contention. Andy Hernandez, leading apprentice, will be aboard. Freddie Velasquez, and you see the drop in class. When you see a drop in class here down into the $7,500 level, it just makes a lot of sense to me when you take a look at this runner in this spot. Is going to be towards the outside. Not a ton of early gas in this race. There are some speed types in here, but for me, when I take a look at Fearless Fly, I think this horse is just sitting on a win. 1-3 starts back, and a pretty good effort there at the 12.5 level, so slight drop in class down to 7,500. 6 is the top pick. Race number 8, when you take a look at this race in here, 6 furlongs, Ruben Silvera picking up the ride on the 1 Kawaja time. Rode the horse 3 starts back, and that was a nice effort. A second beat and a length plus in there. When you take a look at the Mariah Montoya trainee, a 7-year-old mare, needed some time off, came back to the races, had that really good race second off the layoff, progressed a little bit in the last couple starts, but that was a starter race and then an open $15,000 claiming. Now in for the $7,500 tag. Again, we'll see how the rail plays out as far as trying to get the right trip. Seems to come from a little bit off the pace. There's a few runners that are going to come from off the pace as well. Main track is rated good to start the day. We'll see how that plays out. But the one Kawaja time, let's try to find a little value. 6 to 1 on the morning line. Maybe comes down a little bit off of that price. We'll see what happens after scratches and changes. But the one Kawaja time is the top pick in race number 8. We did have some turf racing last week, and that was our performance of the week. So this was a big effort in here. Let's take a look at who it was. And trainer Tim Woolley getting the job done there. Kendrick Carmouche in for the ride. That was a big effort. Even had some trouble in that race. When you take a look at race number 9 in here, when we look at this effort, I might have to take a second glance at margin of error. We'll see what happens here because, again, that race is taken off the turf and moved to the main track. So might change things up a little bit. Esor has run some good races on the dirt. Went on the 6 furlongs at the turf last time at Belmont. Now back on the main track. I think the connection can team up in here and get the win. 5-year-old gelding that's run races that are decent enough to contend, but margin of error towards the outside, who has entered MTO. That would be a pretty interesting horse, so I'll take a second glance at that. The number 15, Anthony Nunez, was 5 to 2 on the morning line, so again, if the main track only gets in, would be a lot tougher in this spot. Race number 10, we got a horse that's just going up the class ladder once again. This horse was claimed for $10,000. Stepped up to the $25,000, wins nicely, was a very game effort at the rail that day. Frankie Pennington was aboard. Let's take a look at that last race. But trainer Scott Lake getting this horse back to some of that back class that we saw. This horse likes to win races. 19 starts, 7 wins, 4 seconds, 4 thirds. This horse really likes to win races. Easy day, very game to the inside. Now comes back in a protected spot. Beat some nice horses in here. Davidic line. Some of the, these really good runners here at that sprint level, at this class level as well. Easy day, comes back in here again in a protected spot, might move forward. Frankie Pennington sees fit enough to come back for the ride. 2 lights out victories in the last 2. We'll see if Easy Day takes the next step forward in race number 10. We get into the 11th and final, and when you take a look at a 7 furlong race at the $7,500 level, the number 8 and the 9 towards the outside, I felt like either one. I was kind of torn between both. I was going back and forth, but She's Got Game, slight drop in class from the 12.5 down to the $7,500 level. Finished 3rd. Prior to that was a 2nd. And then there was a big victory there by 7+ lengths at the maiden $10,000 level. When you take a look at an effort like that, Jerron Barbosa will be back aboard. As you're seeing Barbosa pick up a lot of mounts here at Parx on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. Connections that know how to get it done. Maybe taking a look at the class drop a little bit and just kind of taking a look at that and wondering, down to the 7,500, how short of a price am I willing to take? I'll take She's Got Game. Don't Tell Frankie, though, has won her last 2 races very impressively. Back with Mario Dominguez here for another start. Andy Hernandez with the ride. We'll see how Don't Tell Frankie performs this afternoon. Hey, we got through it. 11 races here on this Monday. Thanks again to Tim Shaw, his entire team. Thanks to the best TV crew in the business as always. Don't forget to follow us. Captain Happy, he's at In the Grandstand on Instagram and Twitter. You can always follow me and give me comments and let me know what's going on. Don't forget, right here at Parx Racing, you can follow us on Twitter at Parx Racing as well. Hit that subscribe on the YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook as well. And on Instagram, it's Parx_Racing. We got the match series tomorrow joining us. Championships will be in October. We got 2 stakes races on the turf here tomorrow for $100,000 each. Really looking forward to that. And I'll be back on Out of the Gate next week for another episode right here at Parx. Enjoy and have a great week.